Okay, let's see if this works. Should work. ななちゃんにリンクを送るね。Okay, test, test, test. Let's see if this you can hear me. Say something that you can hear me. Okay, you seem to have the sound. Um, Sorry for any crashes and bangs if you hear anything in the background. It just the typhoon that's outside. So there can be some weird sounds. Hmm? Okay, 111 test test. Well, it seems the internet is kind of unstable, but let's try. Maybe we can do this. Okay, let's try it. Maybe it will work. Um, I'm sorry. We have a typhoon coming. Not coming like right now, above Japan. So maybe it is making some weird stuff with the internet. Um, Let me try to do something with this. I'll try to reset my internet connection because it does not seem to work. Alright, I'll be back in a second. Okay, we should be back online. Let me check if it works. What then I 1 1 1 2 3 4. Okay, this seems to be more stable now. Probably it should be better than before. Okay, from what I can see from my streaming application, the stream is more stable right now. So let's go on with it before it breaks again or something explodes. As I said, we have a typhoon right now coming over Japan, so you can hear some loud bangs and noises in the background, but that's only the house getting kind of rocketed around by the wind. And don't worry. It feels right now like we are in a kind of a ship or something, just being buffeted around. So, but it's kind of normal in Japan. We have typhoons, and this is the number 24 this year. So they don't even have names. I don't think they do. Okay, I'll show you my screen. So please tell me if you can see my screen all right. You should be able to see my screen today. We will be doing the kind of commentary session on your art that you sent me throughout the last month and a half. A lot of you have sent the art, and a lot of the pictures are really awesome. I was really surprised about the quality. So yeah. Okay, so first I would like to kind of get a short update about myself. Uh, I was doing a small commission for the past like 2 weeks. I thought that it will take me less time, but it was kind of problematic. But because the company that ordered the commission allowed me to film the painting process, and they allowed me to upload the painting process to YouTube when they kind of make everything public, I uptook this commission because that was something like interesting, and I was enjoying painting two illustrations. First, they were supposed to be with watercolors, but in the end, I did them in Photoshop. So that's kind of also interesting, I think, for you, because I rarely do illustrations in Photoshop lately. So that will be some interesting YouTube video, also, I think. So whenever I will be able to show it to you, I'll just upload it to YouTube, and you'll be able to see the illustration, and also I'll put it on my website so you can see it better. Usually I don't take commissions if I don't have to, but with this commission and your support on Patreon, I will be able to focus on my next bigger project for the next couple of months. And actually, I'm kind of in the middle of negotiating next book for with the same publisher I did the Tokyo Storyfronts book with. So that's kind of exciting, but nothing is set down yet. So as soon as I have the budget and the okay from the publisher, I will tell you what I'm working on, and what the next kind of things will be. And also, while working on this book, I want to do next illustration series, but I'll be also able to show you the making of process from the book, which the publisher is okay with me doing. So that's also a nice thing. Okay, so that's for an update, and let's go to your art. And I got 10 submissions that I will go through today, and most of you sent me not one but more pictures, so I chose one, as I said, from the pictures you sent. And okay, so let's go with the first one. I will be posting the name of the person or any other details they sent me into the chat, so you know whose art is which. Okay, so the first art is from Noreen Ann Castillo. I'm sorry if I pronounce names wrong. And this illustration is. Okay, I'll open it. Okay, so this illustration was made for World Watercolor Month, and wanted to do something similar to my art, where I paint my room, and she did her own room with watercolors. Okay, so let's comment on this one first. Let me know if you can see everything okay. I still don't trust this internet. Okay, so this looks really nice and pastel looking. I like the colors. I don't know why it's on transparent background, but it looks okay. So first, what I would like to say is the basic of the picture, and by this I mean the size of things and the perspective. This is done in the isometric perspective, so there are only like two perspective lines, and the vertical one is like straight vertical. But I'm kind of afraid about the size of things. Let me show you what I mean. Let's make it on white background. I'll turn the opacity down a little bit so you can still see it. And let me just take like a nice color, like green. Have a nice brush here. And I'll make the picture a little bit smaller. Okay, so we have this plane here, like the base, and this plane here is also like the base of the picture, which is okay. And we have the wall. So if we go like through here, this is like the place that the bed is, and the bed is like this. Probably goes something like here. So when we have this height here, if we go with it here and here, we kind of translate it. It's really easy to do in this kind of style of painting. We see that the locker, or I don't know what how do you call it, bookshelf shelf, is only about 2 times and a little bit the height of the bed. So and also like the wall here, it's only like 2 times and 2 times and a half the height of the bed. So I think it would be more kind of realistic if we kind of expand this wall around here-ish. I know that you want to show the bed, and if you expand this, it will kind of go over the bed. So we can do like this kind of trick you did here and show it only like this. It's not a good eraser. This is better eraser. Yes. Wind is getting really strong. Like this. And with this also, the window that we have here that was kind of really short, we can expand the window. And when drawing something like this, it's kind of important to remember about the small things. So for example, the window, when you paint stuff like windows, it's really nice to remember about the, I think it's called window pane or window frame. So the glass, because it's transparent, you can see the window of the window pane here. And we can do it like double or triple. Like painting more lines here always helps. It makes stuff feel more realistic. And we have the bed. and we have the headrest, and we have a shelf here. I would not recommend having plants here if they fall on your head while you're sleeping. It's not really good. So but this is fantastic room, so let's go with it. So we have the shelf here, and like this, and also because the room right now is more higher, we can show like insides of the cupboard here. Like these hangers probably should be kind of about this height. If we see like with X-ray Superman vision, they should be like here-ish. So like we have the hangers, and probably this part here should be about like this height. And if we compare the height of the bed with the height of the desk, it's almost the same. So the desk should be kind of like this height. Let's make this even higher. Yeah, I have the luck that when I want to film a video or do a live stream, there's a typhoon coming or something like that. So okay, so we have the proportions. Let's make this kind of like this. Okay, so also we have to have like door, so we can put like door here just a little bit so we can see it like this. So with this kind of adjustments, this is kind of a little bit more realistic. Of course, all the things have to be adjusted for this, so the chair will be like this kind of size with the legs like this, I guess. And the mirror here probably like this. So it's good to kind of take size from one thing that you are kind of sure about. For example, that the bed is like this high and is this long, so it's kind of really easy to measure with just your kind of senses to check if it looks all right, and then kind of adjust all the rest of the stuff to this one thing, so nothing is kind of weird and off size. And if it comes to colors of this, the only thing I have to say I would kind of change or make better, the whole illustration is really kind of cute and pastel looking, which is really nice. Hi. And I like how it looks, but if you do like the white highlights that you did with probably like a white paint, the whole picture, if the whole picture was a little bit more darker, a little bit more saturated, the white highlights would stand out a little bit more. And also I think that if you're going for this kind of style of illustration, when you have like for example this kind of floor here, and it kind of goes with the watercolor and it's darker here, it would be kind of nice if this one face, let's say this one plane, was more or less the same darkness, so kind of like this. And with this, when you put like white highlights on it, it will look they will be a little bit more visible, so it will make nice variation to the picture. And also for the back sides of walls and back sides of furniture, I think it would be a little bit more interesting if they would be a different color than more intensive, for example, color than the rest. So to do like this kind of hi from Japan. It's 10 p.m. here. So it's exactly 24 hours, 12 hours time difference. Nice. Also, like the insides of the closet could be a little bit more darker. So we have kind of the feeling that these things here are inside of the closet. We can add some shadows like underneath the desk to make things stand out a little bit more. With illustrations like this that have a lot of stuff in them, having nice contrast is really important because it makes the picture easier to understand. Uh, so having nice shadows and making like for example this plane or that plane darker than the other one helps a lot to kind of improve the readability of the picture. So we can see things kind of better. So even adding a simple shadow like this makes it kind of easier to understand. So if we have the flowers here, we can add a shadow here to the wall, so it kind of gives it more kind of 3D look. I like this picture. I would uh, I would do more kind of visible lines probably if I was doing it, but that's just kind of my style and how I like to do things. Doing illustrations like this, which have a lot of things in them and are kind of complicated, with only colors, with not so much visible line, is difficult. So if you manage to kind of pull it out, pull it together with only colors, that would be awesome. Okay, so first it's like uh, the size and shape of things. So taking the perspective and the size and the shape of things correctly, like measuring things, just comparing things to things, and then making them kind of stand out and increasing the contrast a little bit would help, I think, overall to make this illustration more easier to understand and kind of interesting also. But I like the style and I like the overall atmosphere of this, so yeah, go for it. Okay, let's go for the next one. Let me open. Let me open. Open. Okay. So this is an illustration from Galina Ryu, and it's called Lady Lotus of the Lake. And let me get the email here. And the question about this is about the light effects and any tips to get this kind of image better, and also about the girl's hair, and is it a bit muddy, and what should be what should be done to not make it muddy. Okay, so my first comment about this is it surely looks like you are really skilled about doing the hair and doing the character, because it looks okay. But personally, I would put a little bit more details and effort into doing all the leaves and flowers, because now they are those kind of design kind of shape, so they they are all kind of heart shaped. But if you and for example, this kind of green texture here, which you use the watercolors, really nice to make a nice gradation that has nice texture and this kind of watercolory effect, which is really good. But I think this is really good for a base upon which you can build a little bit more character for each of the leaves. Okay, so this is only me because I don't usually do this kind of um, I don't usually do this kind of how do you call it, design looking thing. So I would kind of look for this kind of leaves. How do they look in the real world? So I have a photo here, and of course I would not use this photo like directly, but kind of use it as a reference what this kind of a leaf looks like. So it has this kind of three-dimensional shape, and there are also some leaves that are really like tubes almost, and it has this kind of strange black like thorns here, and this kind of pattern that gets from the center to the outside. So I would kind of try to emulate this in the picture. So let's say that I would quickly kind of try to do it here. So this part here is more like to the middle, and part here is more like this. And we have this kind of three-dimensionality, so it is kind of, it has this kind of weird edge to it, which goes like this and can be like wavy. I think you can hear the windows rattling. The wind is really getting really strong, and actually there are some stuff falling in the kitchen, but whatever. It's okay, probably. Okay, and you could also add a nice like vivid green highlight here on the edge, make it more kind of stand out. I know that it's really easy to do in digital, but not so easy to do it with watercolors. But if you find it hard to do this kind of details, you can always use like white gouache to and mix it with watercolors to add this kind of details. And we can also add this kind of pattern that the leaves have. So it goes like from the center to the outside, and we can also add a leaf that is more kind of round, has this kind of weird shape. I don't know, I would have to kind of study this more and check it out how it looks. But what I want to say, it's just like understanding the kind of how it looks like in reality would help you to kind of get the look probably you are looking for, I think. So that's my kind of first advice, and it also goes for the flowers, because they are more kind of designed looking than painterly here. If this is the look that you are going for, that's okay, but if you are going for the design kind of look, I would go more for the design, make it more flat and more kind of designy, and more simplistic even. Now it's in kind of in this kind of limbo where you have this kind of painterly look, but not enough kind of details to kind of hold it together, I think. And also the shadows, like if you look at the photo of the lilies, you can see that the shadows are kind of more pronounced, and there's like a mirror of the flowers in the water. So I would personally add like this kind of contrast here. So would be more kind of like this, I guess. Okay, and if it comes to the character, I think it's okay. This is not my style, so I cannot say much about this. But about the hair, I think it is muddy, and one of the things that you can do to kind of prevent this look is just do not layer paint. So paint the yellow part separately, and the gray part of the water separately, and the kind of brownish part of the hair separately. So what I would do is just make a color kind of like this and paint it separately, so not layering. Like from what I'm guessing is that you did the yellow, everything in yellow, and then put a layer of the Payne's gray on top of it. But I would actually paint it separately, maybe add a little bit more blue to this, like this color, kind of darker, or saturated. And this is green. This is hard. This is actually a hard thing to do, but I think one layer of color is better here. Yeah, something like this maybe. Yeah, and a little bit probably darker on the parts of the character that are supposed to be submerged. And also I would add the shadow here more, so like the mirror of the hair on the water. So in the parts that it goes like above the water more, there should be more mirroring. But yeah, end up like this, I think. And of course, do not put the contour of the character in places that she's underwater, because it just makes it stand out from the water, and that's not like I don't think that it's what you are kind of aiming for here. Like we yeah. Definitely more contrast will help here. And also because the hair is kind of this shape, and it goes like above water, underwater, above water, you could kind of put this part darker, paint this part darker. So for example, if the hair goes here up above the water, then here goes again like below the water, and goes again up here and down. So making it like this would be kind of, I think, more interesting. So just imagine, kind of imagine like where the hair would be like above water and where it would be below water, and like making it submerged more would be making it kind of easier to understand that she's kind of half submerged in the water. Something like this, I guess. Of course, I would have to do it for the whole picture, and that's not the point. But I guess kind of get the idea. And when we have like the black, nice contrast here in some places, then I would do the mirrors. So like kind of mirroring the hair in the surface of the water, and the body. So like here. Let me just do it really. So here, for example, you have the hair, which is above the water, and you have the fish, which is below the water. So it would be nice to kind of give a little bit of contrast between the two things. Okay, so yeah, I would kind of work more with the contrast and with imagining the water face layer. What do we call it? The water, um, the water. So imagining the surface, yeah, imagining the surface of the water and where it kind of cuts through the shape of the character, and making these parts that are underwater darker and above water lighter, and this would kind of make it more easier to understand and kind of realistic, and also painting a little bit more details in the flowers and in the leaves, like I showed here, sorry, would make it more interesting, I think. But if you want to go for the more designer kind of look, that is also okay. So in this case, I would recommend even going further with the simplification. So no textures like this, and no textures on the hair, maybe the line thicker, so it goes kind of in the muha or musha style, a little bit more. So yeah, but I really like the watercolor texture, and I really like that you are working with the watercolor particles, with the texture of the watercolor, which is really nice. And yeah, for example, with this fish, you could make it like this, so only the back of the fish goes out of the water. Yeah. Okay. So try kind of experimenting with this kind of look, maybe a little bit more. Okay, so let's go for the next one. And the next one is this one. Bing. And this is really interesting. And this one is from Diego Martinez Barcelu. I think I read it correctly. And he sends his Instagram and website also. Check the live chat for the links. And okay, so let me check the email. And okay, you would like to get a comment about the use of color, saturation, and application in general, and the aspect of composition and details, and a general critique. And this is done on 240 grams cotton Winsor and Newton paper, and with Winsor and Newton watercolors. And he's going for this is a test for a new series of illustrations. Is correct. Huh. It's rare for me to get a name correct, but okay. Okay, so first I have to tell that I really like this. It has really nice and vibrant colors, and I really like how it looks. The only thing I would tell about the file itself is, like, if you have a Canon scanner, try to check the unsharp mask when you're scanning. And if you don't have a Canon scanner and it's like Epson or something, try making the picture a little bit sharper with Photoshop. Like with unsharp mask, just try whatever works best for your kind of style. It will get for pictures that are done with watercolors and pencils, I would recommend a little bit more sharp for the pictures. Like scanning it really big and then making it smaller also helps. Photoshop is really good at making things smaller, really sharp and nice. So yeah. Okay, so about the composition, I think it's okay. It depends what you are going to use this for. If you are going to use this for as an illustration that's like surrounded by text or a cover or something like this, that's really nice. The only thing I can tell about the colors and like the composition is that the character is a little more bit how do you call it, hard to see from the background. I think it would kind of help a little bit if she would be standing out from the background a little bit more. If we look kind of at her hair, you can see that the color is kind of 76% and 67%, so it's really saturated and kind of darkish. And this is similar um, for the back, kind of half and half. I would do it more like let's see, saturation more like something like this. See? So let's okay. Okay. Let's do. This is something you can do in post-production, so you don't have to repaint the picture. I don't know what I clicked here. Weird. Okay. You don't have to repaint the picture even. Let's blue layer here and set it to overlay, and let's apply the same mask. Get a little bit more right. So I think that if the character was darker and the background was a little bit lighter, the character would stand out a little bit more. You can go the opposite way, of course, so you can make the background darker and the character lighter. So if she is like in a dark forest and she is a really light fairy in a dark forest, then the opposite would be correct in this case. So we could make it like multiply and go the other way around. So she is like a nice fairy in a dark forest, or the other way around. So that depends on your theme of the picture. And also, there's a trick that I use all the time with my watercolor paintings, is that before I start painting with watercolors, I often scan the pencil lines. So I have then black lines on white background I can use to kind of enhance the picture in places that I want. So if I had these pencil lines here, I could make this character kind of pop a little bit more with putting the lines over the character and only masking out the background, so just making them only on the character and setting them to multiply, so they kind of enhance the lines only for the character. It's what I do with my comics, what I did with Yuragi, and often I put the lines on characters but erase them on the background, so they stand from the characters stand from the background out a little bit more. You could also put the lines here on the frame, so this kind of gets this kind of depth look here, which is kind of nice, I think. I really like the shadow here. I really like the shadow here. It would be nice if the shadow would be a little bit bigger, probably. One of the things that you can try is, if you have a nice effect and you like it, like here, It would be nice to make it a little bit bigger, a little bit more visible, so it has a little bit more of impact. I really like the shadow here, like in the from the frame. Okay, so if you see, and let's overall make it a little bit more saturated and maybe a bit more light. And let's put levels on this so we can cut the texture of the paper a little bit. Okay, so this is how without the adjustments, and this is with the adjustments. So one thing what you can do is make the sketch, scan it, leave it for later, like with 600 dpi, nice line work, and then color it in digital and test everything, and then go with the watercolors. It's what I do often when I do kind of this kind of difficult work that I want to make a little bit more challenging, and it's kind of challenging, and I have to test some things before I go with in with the watercolors. So yeah, this is one of the methods you could use. But overall, I really like this design, and if you put some nice text or titles or whatever and make this kind of work as a part of your project, I think it's really good. Kind of this is kind of weird, but I'll just comment on the leaves. I would kind of make them more leafy. Just take a look at some botanical art. So if you go to Google and just look for some botanical art, I don't know how to spell leaves in English, but probably. Okay, so if you just look for some nice leaves done with botanical art, you can see some nice examples of rendering of leaves with watercolors. Colors. So this is a really nice kind of thing to look for to study how to paint leaves and stuff. You can of course take some just real leaves and practice a little bit like the shape of the leaves here. Okay, I think that's it. I really like this actually. So yeah, these are just my suggestions, what I would do to make it kind of this little bit more better, I think. Okay, thank you for the submission. Let's go to the next one. Okay, we are really going over time, but whatever. Okay, the next illustration is from I don't know if I can pronounce it right this time. Yining Wang, I think. Okay, let's open, and this is something I have expertise in because this is a storefront, and actually we also have the photo upon which this is based. So we have the photo here. Try to open it, like open it like I can open it. Okay, so we have this picture here, and I'll post the name, and let's see the email. Okay, so for this one, it's how I can make shadows when the building is really flat, and how should I use more or less water, and how to avoid making dull colors. Okay, so for me, this picture it's technically correct. I mean, the shape of the building is really well defined. The only thing that there are some things that I would do differently here. for example, the texture of the bricks, I would not do so much of the texture everywhere. It's nice to do a texture of bricks if it's just an accent on part of the building, but if it's like here on almost all of the building, I would do it in some places, but not everywhere. Also, if we kind of look at the photo, there are the bricks that are dark here, but here you used the dark color when the picture was when the sides were still wet. So I would wait for the sides to dry perfectly before doing the dark part here, so it does not get this mixed. And also, like I like the gradations here, the transitions between colors, so that's okay. But the shape of the bricks and the pattern of the bricks is kind of different than it should be. These things like bricks and stones and walls like this are kind of hard and bothersome to do because you kind of have to follow the right pattern for the bricks. If you don't, it looks kind of unnatural, and that's I think that is from one point of view is really nice because you can do a realistic painting of bricks and it looks great, but it requires a lot of work. But yeah, I you can use a small flat brush to do the bricks. It helps a little bit with time and keeping them straight. So you can try this. And also for the windows on the photo here, there's a nice gradation from blue to this kind of orangish colors, and I would certainly uh, do it show it like this because it gives this kind of nice Hollywood look to this picture. So I would try to replicate this on the watercolor. So I would go from this color here to kind of this color here. Maybe make it more saturated. And for the shadows, first the main part of the building is this part here. We have the shadow here that kind of defines the shape of the round windows and this part which is like in the back. So we we should add this shadow here. Make it your favorite color. This is kind of your decision. I would do it kind of bluish because I just like it. And you can over define it a little bit, so make it bigger and more visible. If it helps kind of show the shape of your stuff in the picture, then it's good to make it bigger than it really is. You can also add a little bit of shadow here or here to make it more kind of 3D, so the light is coming like kind of from this direction. Make this part even darker so it makes this. And also we can do a shadow here and here, like here and here, and also from this part here. So it will make the building a little bit more three-dimensional. I would actually make it more lighter and less contrasted. So kind of like this. So the shadows would be more visible. This is really important when you paint something that is really flat and hard to understand. It's to make the shadows that you have work for you, and you have only a little bit of shadows here, so you have to make them visible. So use them the best you can to make the shape kind of visible. So you can even put shadows like underneath the letters here and on the back of those things here. So every part that you have that you can put shadows on, that would be good to use shadows for a picture like this. Okay, and that's it, I guess. The one thing that I want to say again is that the whole picture is really textured. You have the textured walls, you have the textured windows. So I would actually make it a little bit less textured. So if you have a lot of texture on the walls, I would make the windows only a nice gradation. If you have a lot of textures on the windows, I would make the walls a little bit less textured. So this is also one of the things that I would do if I was painting this. And if it comes to making dull colors, for example, like the ones on the doors, one of the things is not to put too many colors in your mixes. So 2 colors is kind of safe, but also you have to remember that mixing colors, some colors will give you different results. I have episode of my how do you call it, watercolor basic tutorials about this. If you mix some kinds of blue with some kinds of red, it will give you a dull color. But if you mix some kinds of blue with some kinds of red, it will make a nice vivid color. You have to kind of try some of your mixes and check what works for you. Depending on the brand you can get of watercolors, you can get different results also. So that's also one of the things you would have to try. Adding mirrors here that kind of help show the shape of the glass, that it's glass. It's really also important, I think. Okay, so these are my tips for this picture. This is really difficult, actually. I would not choose this one for my watercolor series because this one is difficult. It's really hard to show, and the shape of the building interesting, I think. Okay, let's go to the next one. Next one is made by Alice Chu, and I cannot open it. Could not complete your request because reading arithmetic coded JPEG files. Whoa! Let's open it in something different then. いや、大丈夫。なんかこれでちょっと違うファイルで保存してみよう。Okay, I'll open it in preview and try to save it as PNG. Save. That's a weird error. I haven't seen an error like this before. But okay, we are there. I really like this picture. It's really nice. That's nice to have you here live. And I have some advice here, but this is so nice and well defined as a style that I would not like to kind of spoil it. But I have some advice that I can give here. First is the perspective. Okay, so let's make it a little bit less visible. Okay, so just a little bit of advice here if it comes to the perspective. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Let's pick a nice color. This thing here, the like the art stand. Let's make it a little bit bigger. Okay, so the art stand here, if we would extend it a little bit like this, I guess we could kind of, okay, so I'm not painting on the layer that I should be. So it's like this. You could see that actually it's kind of not in perspective because it's kind of like this. it's like extending stuff outside of your painting area. It's a really nice thing to do, especially even if you are a really advanced designer and illustrator. Extending things outside of your painting area is really important. Sometimes you can have people that are higher than lower than cars, or cars that are higher than people, or really strange stuff happening in all kinds of professional animation even. So it's really important to kind of do this, I think. And so if we would make the kind of correct perspective, I think it would be something like this. It's difficult because it has different angle than the walls, but I think it should be something like more like this. Maybe a little bit bigger. Like something like this but this is one thing I would change here. Think like something like this probably. And also you have the window frame here, which is really nice, and you actually kind of are conscious about the shape of the line here, so it goes like here and inside. But I think this part could be a little bit more visible, so the line could go like here and then go above and then go like more here and like kind of this, so like here, or even show that it's kind of like not perfect here, so it's the cannot do it with this brush. So a little bit more of the shape awareness here would be nice, and also that you have a perspective that goes like from here. Okay, the typho is really strong. So your vanishing point is around here, I guess. So we should be actually able to see a little bit of this here and like this. I don't think we would be able to see this part here, and we should be able to see this frame here. So I know that this is like children's book and it looks really nice, but a little bit more of the perspective awareness would do good for this picture, I think. I really like the paper here. Like this maybe, but the cans with the paint are perfect, and the bed also is I think okay. Only the legs on the teddy bear, I think maybe this one should be bigger or this one should be smaller a little bit. But apart of that, I cannot see anything that's kind of perspective wise, that's way perspective wise, that's kind of weird. I really like the fact that the horns are like here. If you have this kind of effect here, we could make it even more. So like this, maybe the angle a little bit more would give a little bit more of the effect here. But it looks really good. And uh, about the colors, I think they look really nice. I really like the brushes that you use. The only thing that I would change personally, um, it's really difficult because the most difficult thing that you can have painting digitally are walls that have nothing on them. I know this from my experience as a background painter. The most difficult things to paint are walls of a room that don't have anything on them. They are really, really difficult to paint. The one thing that I would kind of change are those kind of really soft brushes that you use for this kind of shadow effect here. Um, I would make it a little bit more like smooth, so we cannot actually see transition of colors. You could leave the effect of the corner being a little bit darker than the rest of the wall to make it more kind of natural and to look kind of older. But I would kind of yeah, I would kind of avoid the effect of airbrush brush Photoshop, airbrush Photoshop brush on pictures like here, because they kind of give. Personally, I think that they kind of give this a little bit of digitally painted atmosphere when the whole picture is kind of stylized as hand painted. So I would kind of avoid this kind of brushes. Maybe something even more pronounced, like if you want to show that you're using digital and you are not kind of afraid about it, maybe even using a brush that has harder edges would be also okay. But having something kind of in between, I think does not work so well. But that is kind of my opinion also. And also, this kind of is also about the shadows. I would make the shadows a little bit more well defined, so we have little bit more like kind of hard edged shadows maybe, because the room is really bright and really like well lit. Maybe having a little bit more of a well-defined shadow would be good. I don't know. This is just a style thing and probably maybe a personal kind of a style kind of thing. But yeah, that's not much I can comment on here. It's a really nice thing that I really like. So I don't want to mess with it too much, but yeah, these are the things that I kind of thought when I saw this one. Okay. The lightning and the value is okay. She asks about the lightning and the value tips and yeah. So lighting and value is okay, I think. I would add more visible, more hard shadows that would kind of make the shape of things easier to understand. But a part of this, it's really nice. The character could stand out a little bit more from the background. We could make her a little bit more saturated and dark. Let's see how it make her like this, and then I can put a mask on this part only. Let's see how it works. Yeah, maybe not so much, but a little bit would be nice. Yeah, I think a little bit more contrast on the character would be okay. But apart of that, this looks really good. The dragon could be also a little bit more visible, so you could make the lines and a little bit more saturated and more dark, just a little bit, like 20% probably. Yeah, but apart of that, I really like this. Okay, I hope this helps. Let's go for the next one, and the next one is probably the most difficult for me here. This was sent by Andre here, and I have here sixth one. Okay. This is really difficult for me because I'm not really an expert on kind of design, kind of just like this. that are not rendered but have this design kind of a feel. Um, and he asks in his email about the light and shadow and trying to improve the technique and learning on YouTube from other artists. So about the light and shadow, that I can say here, it's kind of difficult because I don't know what you are trying to get from this picture. If I was doing it, I would probably try to get the face pop out from the background a little bit more, so we can have, okay, so we can add some shadow here, and we can either add it to the background. So I would set to multiply, and I would actually make it more kind of reddish, or we can do it the other way around, so I can add it to the face. It actually depends on what you are going for. We can make the edges, but for this face probably I will make the like this. This is really difficult for me, so I really don't know so much what I can tell you here. It just depends on what you want to kind of achieve with this picture. This is what I would go for, like making this more light from one side like this. Also, I would kind of choose probably a reddish color for this, so of like this red. Something like this color maybe, and try to follow the shape of the face. So like it's just kind of big, bro. Yep. Really hard for me to kind of modify it because I don't really know what you're going for with this one, but there are a lot of resources on the web for making like realistic paintings of faces, and rendering like a face like this is really difficult, and especially that it's not my area of expertise. There's not much I can help with this one, I'm afraid, but um, making it more interesting by using shadows is one of the things that you can do. I would kind of go for a reddish color here and try to kind of render this with the colors that you already have, because if you like this um, connection of blue and gray and orange, I would go with this further a little bit, so add more details and shadows on the face. You say that you actually used a reference for this, so I would um, follow the reference, and I would try to kind of render this a little bit more, so the shape actually is more defined. But this is a really difficult task, and there are, as you say, some YouTube videos that you could use to learn to how to render faces like this. But also the thing that I would point to here is like rarely you have on such a light photo or picture such dark pupils and shadows like in here. So one of the things that you can do to make it kind of more, I think making those details a little bit more less prominent would help with this picture. So it a little bit less visible probably with help. Something like this, I guess. Like I said, this is really hard for me to comment on, so I don't think I can help much here. But there are a lot of resources online for realistically painting faces. But if you want to go for more design looking, for more design look, I would play around also with the thickness of the line that you are using even more. So using a thicker, thinner line here probably would help to make the picture more kind of defined. So using a thicker line on the outline and thinner line on the line that is kind of in light, maybe would also a little bit help to add a little bit of variation to this picture. Okay, let's go for the next one. And this actually is the opposite because, okay, this is again the same error. I don't know what's happening. The JPEG files. Save as. Save as PNG. And open. Okay, so this is the opposite because this is actually my area of expertise. I feel at home with this picture. And this is done by, where is it? Where is it? Okay. This one, right? Okay, yes. This is done by Noah Landberg. And I'll post it on the chat. And there's a link also for more works. Okay, and this is my area of expertise, and actually I don't know. I will guess that she. Okay, so she says that I helped her with her previous questions and told her to use more round and pastel-like brushes to for this kind of backgrounds, and actually it helped a lot. I really think that this picture looks really good, and it's close to the animation style that I'm actually used to doing. I would make it flat. So originally this picture was this kind of at this kind of angle. I would actually make it flat like this, maybe even more. The lines I think that are in the distance should be straight. Okay, it already looks a little bit better. The second thing that I would correct are the marks on the ground. The texture of the ground looks excellent, but the marks on the ground are a little bit too big. So it looks like the ground is full of kind of garbage and trash. The marks here should be smaller. If I was doing it, I would make it kind of more like this, maybe, and not so much of them. Okay, the next thing are the shadows. I really like the that you try to do this kind of animation like shadows that are going from the blue through red to the lack of a shadow. But this part here should blend a little bit more. So I would actually blend the shadows a little bit more on the edges. And on this edge here also. Uh, Ideally, if the shadow is on a different layer, I would just alpha lock this layer and add a little bit of red on the edge so they are more smoother. But I really like the texture of the walls. I really like the texture here. You should be a little bit more aware of the shape of the buildings, of the shape of the things. So for example, here this is of this kind of shape, so it's kind of like this. So if it has a shadow, it should have a little bit more of the shape showing in the shadow, so a little bit more like this, I think. So it kind of follows the shape of the building. And also here, like we have this thing, but it stands out, so the shadow should be cut here. Like this. And also this shadow can like connect with this one, so they form one. But overall, this is really nice. There are some things that require a little bit more attention, like places when you connect one thing to another. They should have a more pronounced like edge to them. But overall, this is really good. Some things also should follow the perspective a little bit better, especially like the cards here or here, or this card here. I know that the perspective in this place is already really squashed, so it's hard to show it. But I would make it more like at an angle, still to show the perspective a little bit more. With things that are really complicated like this, it's good to before you start painting and rendering, just paint a box that kind of symbolizes it and make sure that it stays with the perspective. But also the sky is a little bit busy. I would make a little bit less clouds. Think about it as an illustration more than as a painting of some place that is real. So I would kind of make it a little less busy to show the two airplanes that you have here, which are a nice accent for an airport painting. But I would make them more visible by adding less clouds, like this, for example. So it kind of shows the airplanes here a little bit more. I like the mirror here. I like the stuff here. Another thing is that you add this kind of highlights on things, but they are not consistent. So you have highlights on the upper edge here, but you have highlights on the lower edge here. If the shadows is from like this direction, then you should have highlights on the lower edge on the whole thing. You could add highlights and make the highlights that are in shadow more blue and more darker. And also you have like the edges of the frame of the glass, and I think they would look better if they had a little bit more three-dimensionality to them. That would make them a little bit more realistic. You have to remember that frames like this go underneath the glass also, so you can see them the other side of the glass a little bit. So you have to remember that when painting windows and glass like this, most of the times you can see the other side of the frame through the glass. So it should have more three-dimensional effect to them. Not black, but probably dark green. But yeah, this picture is really nice and technically is really advanced. And one of the things that I remembered here when I looked at it is that there's a lot of contrast difference between the wheels and the shadow here. And in other places also, like the stuff looks like it's floating a little bit. I maybe this color is realistic and it's how actually the things look in real life, but I would add a little bit more darker shadow, so the things look more like they are really standing on the tarmac. So probably even about this dark. Of course, I cannot do it like because I don't have layers here, but yeah, like kind of like this, so they look more on the ground. This one is probably okay. Maybe a little bit darker, like underneath the wheels, but yeah. For example, this one, the shadow is not so visible, so I would add more. Yeah, but other than such small kind of details and fixes that I would do, this one is really nice. The pole in the front is okay because this is an airport and you are going like through an airport, and this is probably based on a photo you took, but yeah, for the composition, if this was an animation and this was done on a separate layer and it was moving, then yes, but for an illustration that is static, I think that the pole only this pole here only takes away from the painting. If it was like here, or maybe like a frame here and here maybe, then yes, but not in the middle. Okay, let's go for the next one. This one was great. Next one is number 8, and this is also really cute, nice picture. I like it a lot. This is done by Karina Kushnir. And she is here actually from Brazil at 8 a.m. Okay, so I have a few comments about this one. My first comment is when you scan a picture and edit it with filters, be sure that you don't overdo it. It's easy to overdo a picture if you want, when you want to make like the paper white. You can like kind of burn a little bit of the nice watercolor texture that you have on the lighter places. It's better probably to kind of select the white of the paper and then apply levels filter to it, only to the part that is actually white, so you don't kill parts of your picture that have white in it. So do not try not to apply a filter on the whole picture, or if you are using automatic filters in your scanner, stop using them. Do not use automatic filters in your scanner. Just scan without any adjustments, and then adjust the picture yourself in Photoshop. It will give your pictures a lot of more of texture and the things that you worked on when you used the watercolors. So I recommend turning off any automatic adjustments that you have on your scanner and doing all the adjustments that you want in Photoshop. It takes a little bit more time, but it gives a lot more like watercolor feeling to your pictures. I really like the wonky style. I really like it. I really like also the color selection that you did for this picture. It's really good. The only thing that I would actually do differently here are the doors. I think that they stand out nicely, but the color kind of is more dirty and less saturated than the rest of the picture, and I think that it comes just from the selection of the colors that you used here. I would personally use a little bit more like greenish gray color. Can you hear the windows rattling in the stream? I think you can. This is I have the noise blocking function on in OBS streaming software, but I think you can hear the rattling. I don't know if we will get any sleep today because of this. So I would actually go for this kind of color. Uh, Probably do it in only one pass if I can. So I would use this kind of green color and do it in one pass and just add a little bit of shadow. But overall, I really like this picture. I really like this this style also. I like that the lines are not black, which also gives to the picture. You could try to make this part here a little bit more interesting by kind of randomly changing color of the blocks here, which I often do in my paintings. If I have a wall that is made of brick or stone, for example, I would change the color a little bit for each of the like group of blocks, which makes it kind of more interesting a little bit. Yeah, but that's it. I really like this picture, and please continue with your unique wonky style. I like it. You could make this part here a little bit more 3D, because even though you kind of prefer this flat style and most of the picture is kind of flat, you have nice shadows that kind of make it 3D. But on this wall here, you have um, you have this kind of paper wall kind of look. So you can fight with it. Uh, I I will show you a little bit. Let's see, a nice brush. For example, turn the opacity this down a little bit so it's more visible what I'm doing. For example, here I would actually do a line like this and then like this. So you have this kind of parapet or whatever it is here. You move the window a little bit here and you put line inside so you can see the side of the of the of the building. It's less about the sun than on the actual shape of the windows, I guess. So here also, like this part is kind of like this probably. So you have this shape here and this shape here that helps you to make this look more three-dimensional a little bit. So this part here, actually you made this shape, but I think we could make it kind of bigger so it's more visible. Like this. Okay, I don't know. If the sun was coming from left, then of course this part here should be in shadow. Like this part here. Okay, but this looks really nice. This you could make the shadows a little bit more not visible, not darker, but a little bit more consistent maybe. It is kind of hard to say from where the light comes from actually. Especially now this part, for example, is really in front. So we could make this shadow here larger, like this. And also, if we want to keep this consistent, this part here should be in shadow. and also things like this here and this and so on. So I think that keeping the shadow a little bit more consistent would help. But overall, this picture looks really nice and I like it. Kind of like this, I guess. Give it a bit more. It just depends how 3D do you want this building to look. Without the shadows, it's also okay because it's more kind of flat look. Just the style is different. But if you want to show the shape of the building more, I would recommend this kind of shadow approach with also being careful about the shape of the elements here, for example. But overall, I really like the wonky style, and please continue doing your awesome art. Yes, I really liked all the other illustrations that you sent for the commentary, but this is taking really too long, so I think I'll just go over one of them. Sorry. Okay, so let's go for the next one. This is the one before last, actually, and this one is from Ivan or Yuan Rosso, and this one. Okay, so this is a black and white ink picture, and I will go over some things that I already said for people that I did before here. And okay, whoa, the light just went out for a second. I don't know if the stream will continue, but I'll try to make it. Okay, so the thing that I want to say here is, for example, the thickness of the windows of the glass. Most of the frames, the window panes here, are just sitting like flat. What I would do is I would add a little bit of three-dimensionality to it. So making the inner, like this part here, visible by adding an additional line here. And also the glass cannot just go to the wall. For sure it has like a frame here, so I would also add a line here, a double line here. And with this perspective, like probably around here is the horizontal line, so we can see this line here and we can see this line here. But for this pane here, we can see only the top one because this one is invisible because of the perspective. So this is a trick I would use a lot with painting and drawing, is adding double lines to make the thing look more three-dimensional. Whoa. And also I would do the same thing here. So we can see, we should be able to see this line here and this line here for the windows. And I always recommend to kind of look how the windows should open, how they should close. Do they have any latches that they have, or any hinges, or any lines that define where the frame kind of begins when it ends, how it fits to the wall? It's really important to kind of grasp this kind of things and draw them really roughly even. But if they are there, they make the picture look a little bit more realistic. I really like the ink effects that you have here, the ink textures, they're brilliant. The other thing is that, for example, here, if you have pipes like this, you should see if they have any like connections like in the middle. If they have like this kind of things that kind of connect them to the wall, you can make them kind of a little bit more interesting by adding the nails or screws that they are fixed to the wall, and you can make them a little bit more look a little bit more thicker than the pipe that they are holding. So for example, this line here, I would make it a little bit more like this, and you should be also be able to see the other side of this, like here, and the screw, for example, like this. And while drawing like screws like this, just keep in mind the perspective, so it's nice to kind of make it thick in the place that is closer to us, like this, so it kind of looks three-dimensional even though it's not. And the same with parts like this, you kind of make the line like this. So the thickness of the line kind of suggests the shape of the object. And you can use this in digital, and you can use this with ink. So it's an interesting technique to use while rendering this kind of objects. And for lines that are on rounded objects, like rounded objects, for this part here, you can do just like this kind of pattern of lines here that suggests that this thing is round. So these are like the things that I would like you to kind of focus on if you want to improve your drawings. The style is really interesting, but I think adding more details and paying more attention to shape of objects would help a lot with making it look more interesting. I really like this kind of ink effects that you have, for example, here. So it would be really nice to kind of use this more also. Okay, I will go to the next one before the house blows away. Okay, so the next one is from Valentin Michelet. I think I'm spelling it okay. If I'm not, tell me. And this is a part of the comic that tells the story of how they came to Japan and about their travels in Japan. And I can say that most of the panels here are just awesome. Just look at this train station. This is awesome, isn't it? The perspective is perfect. The shadows are perfect. The grays are really nice. So I don't actually have anything to say about the contents of the like the technique of the panels, especially the backgrounds. I'm not so good about the characters, and I don't want to actually comment on the characters so much. The only thing that I would say about this is if you are kind of looking at the flow of the of the whole page, you have a lot this panel here, which the balance here is not very good about this panel here. You have a lot of text presumably in these speech balloons here, but the character is kind of pushed like to the side by the speech balloons. I would actually think a little bit about a little bit different kind of ways to show the same situation. What I can see here is like you have really nice renderings of places and situations that of using here, but maybe if you kind of rotate stuff and think about a different angle that you can get, you could probably get away with a little bit more interesting perspectives. For example, here you have a big panel, but the thing that is most interesting are like you on the bed. So personally, I would probably do this part bigger. Something like this. And I would move some of the text so I can have it over here. So it kind of makes it more of a flow. So you start from here, you go from here and go like this. So I would have some text here, probably not much text here. And for this panel, you could maybe use, if you do have to have so much text here, you could just make a hand that is pressing a button on the elevator that would actually fit in this small space here, or make it from a different perspective. So just use like the elevator buttons here and make the hand gesture from here, just pressing the button. It's just the character here looks a little bit more, a little bit cramped in the panel. The flow of the page would be a little bit better. We have the train here, so the eye kind of goes from here to here. So we could have a panel that is a little bit bigger here and go from here. Maybe have not this one here, but one that is kind of here. And go through the panel here with a text, and then down here to the end of the page. We could have a panel like here in the end. But you also want to show this how they are kind of dead on the bed. So I would actually make them bigger like this, so they are kind of easier to see. But overall, if I have to say that the pictures, like the backgrounds that you have here, are excellent, and I really like how they are easy to understand, and everything is kind of stylish and nice. I like how you use the line variation for your for making things appear closer and further away, which is really nice. I like how this part here kind of disappears into the distance, so this is also really good. I really look forward to this. Yeah, the only thing I would kind of change here is kind of the flow of the page and the crampiness of this third panel. But yeah, overall this looks really good. Okay, so that's it for this part of Q&A. We did 2 hours of correction. I'm really happy that you submitted so much of your art for me to kind of comment upon. I hope that you can take something from my rambling here. I hope that I can meet you again, and this will not blow up away our house. But yeah, I think we are okay. Okay, so for the next Q&A, I think I will do a Q&A, so question and answer session. So if you have any questions that you would like me to answer that are not related like this to your art, but to what I do in any way, just feel free to ask me on Patreon, or you can send me an email to just look up my email on my website, mateuszurbanowicz.com. And that's it. This session will be available for your review on YouTube as usual as a non-public video, so if you have a link, you'll be able to review it later. Okay, stay safe and warm, and make good art, and don't be stressed out by your pressure vectors, as I said in the recent article, and continue to do awesome stuff, because you're doing awesome stuff. Thank you for your support on Patreon. Because of your support, I can do my own projects and do not take so much commissions, and focus on doing interesting things for you, and also doing stuff on Patreon and writing articles and stuff. Okay. See you next time. Thank you for coming. Bye bye.